I had never seen darkness like that before. It was deep and palpable, as if it bore down upon me, chilling my skin even under layers of clothing. Just a few hours earlier, my friends and I had laughed and shared memories around a bonfire, but now, the shadows of the old Lakeview cabin swallowed everything, leaving me feeling utterly alone. I shivered, not from the cold, but from the encroaching dread creeping along my spine. It had been a spontaneous decision to head out to Lakeview, an isolated area just outside of town, surrounded by dense woods. We rented the cabin to escape city life for a weekend of hiking, barbecuing, and late-night ghost stories. But as the night wore on and the shadows lengthened, something in the atmosphere shifted. A weight hung in the air that even the light-hearted jokes couldn't dispel. I decided to step outside for some fresh air, needing a moment away from the laughter that felt increasingly hollow. The night was still, save for the sound of the wind rustling the leaves overhead. I stood on the porch, gazing into the blackness of the trees, feeling an inexplicable pull, or maybe it was a warning. Just then, a chill wind swept by, sending a shiver deep into my bones. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I reached for my phone to check the time, but the screen flickered unexpectedly, causing my heart to race. It was just past midnight. I turned to head back inside when I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. It was only a brief flash, but enough to make my pulse quicken. Something was lurking just beyond the tree line, impatiently waiting for me to lower my guard. "Are you coming back or what?" shouted Sarah from inside the cabin, laughing. I forced a smile and turned to respond, but then I heard it, a whisper, clear as day, cutting through the wind. "Help me," it pleaded, a voice so soft yet filled with desperation. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The laughter from my friends faded into nothingness, replaced by the haunting echo of that voice. Did I imagine it? Was it the wind playing tricks on me? "Everything all right out there?" I called back, trying to sound casual, but the unease had settled in my stomach like a stone. I stepped further into the shadows, straining my ears to catch any further sounds, but all I could hear was the rustling of branches overhead. I felt the air grow heavier, as if the very essence of the forest was alive, breathing, watching. It was disconcerting, and I took a breath, forcing myself to return inside to the company of friends. Once I stepped back into the cabin, the warmth and flickering light momentarily chased away the shadows forming at the edges of my mind. But even surrounded by friends, I felt the unease gnawing at me. I shared the whisper. Laughter followed, each person dismissing it as another joke amongst our restless imaginations. Yet, deep inside, I remained unsettled, my gaze occasionally drifting to the darkened windows, half expecting to see something staring back. As the night wore on, someone suggested we tell ghost stories, which seemed harmless enough. One by one, we recounted local legends and personal experiences meant to scare each other, laughter filling the room until, inevitably, we turned to Mike. He had always had a penchant for the eerie and macabre. "There's a story about this cabin," he began, the room quieting as all eyes turned towards him. "They say long ago, a family came here for a vacation, but they never left." Mike's deep voice echoed in the cabin as he spun a tale of disappearance and despair. I felt the air grow colder, the shadows around us elongating. They heard whispers in the woods, too, begging for help, he continued, his eyes glinting with mischief and something darker. One night they followed the sounds and vanished, leaving nothing behind but their echoes. As he spoke, a chill ran through me, reminding me of the voice I had heard outside just hours before. Just as Mike finished, a loud crack sounded from outside, like a branch snapping under the weight of something massive. We all jumped, the laughter dying in our throats. "Probably just a deer," someone whispered, yet an air of tension hung heavy. I felt my heart race, remembering that voice from earlier, the one that still echoed in my mind. I instinctively moved closer to the window, peering into the abyss of darkness, half expecting to see a figure emerge. Nothing. Just the deep, writhing shadows that danced ominously at the edge of the woods, swallowing all light. But as I stood there, I became aware of an unsettling sensation, the feeling of being watched. I turned to the room, my friends engaged in nervous chatter, but I felt the hairs on my neck rise. I could have sworn I saw something dart between the trees, just a flicker of movement, but my rational mind dismissed it as my imagination. We remained inside, but the fun was gone. Each of us took turns looking out into the woods, anxiety building as the night wore on. Just past 1 a.m., I felt a compulsion rising within me, urging me to step outside again, against the protests of my friends. I opened the cabin door, stepping onto the porch once more, the chill of the night washing over me like the wave of a foreboding omen. The whisper returned, piercing the silence. "Help me." I jumped back, the voice luring me deeper into the woods. It felt almost personal, pulling on threads of empathy I didn't know I had. This time, I felt something brush against my leg, not a breeze, but a tangible presence brushing against my skin. I stumbled backward, my heart racing, and before I knew it, I was shouting for my friends, panic surging as the darkness closed in around me. "What's wrong?" Sarah yelled, scrambling outside as the others followed. I pointed towards the woods, stumbling over my words. "Did you hear that?" Someone is out there. The group exchanged frightened glances and collectively moved towards the tree line, a blend of concern and fear evident on their faces. The trees loomed, whispering secrets through the swaying branches, casting intricate patterns of shadow over the forest floor. "You're just hearing things," Sarah said. But just then, we saw it, a figure indistinct and flickering in and out of existence between the trees. My breath caught in my throat as we all froze, fear gripping us like a vice. I blinked, and it was gone. "What was that?" Eric said, his voice barely a whisper. Is it even human?" We were riveted in place, fear and curiosity battling within us. "We should get back inside," I urged, but it felt like a lifetime before we slowly retreated back into the cabin. As the door clicked shut, the atmosphere thickened, leaving behind the warmth and laughter we had enjoyed just hours earlier. Even standing among friends, I felt isolated. The whispers grew louder, echoing in the silence of the cabin. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and one by one we drifted off to restless sleep, the haunting voices still echoing in the dark. I awoke to piercing screams, disoriented and fearful. I bolted upright, heart racing, only to find Sarah at the window, her face pale, eyes wide with terror. "It's out there!" she screamed, pointing into the darkness. I stumbled out of bed to join her, dread pooling in my stomach as I looked through the window. Patches of fog rolled in from the lake, and all too vividly, I thought I saw a figure standing right on the water's edge, obscured by the mist, skin pale as moonlight. Before I could respond, the cabin lights flickered, then went out completely, plunging us into darkness. Panic surged as we stood there, engulfed by fear and confusion. "Did it just leave?" someone asked, and I felt like I was being squeezed between two worlds, the rational and the inexplicable. One of us switched on a flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating nothing but our frantic expressions. Suddenly, the window shattered with an explosive rattle, and we screamed, retreating away from the source of the noise. All at once, the air turned stale, the whispers growing more urgent, piercing through the silence. "We need to leave," I urged, adrenaline pumping as I hurriedly grabbed my things while confusion and terror lit the faces around me. Now, outside, the night felt alive with an unsettling energy, shadows flickering at every turn. We ran, scrambling toward the car, but my heart sank as a realization hit me. The whispers were now louder than ever, drowning out the sound of our frantic breaths. "Help me!" echoed around us from every direction. We stumbled into the car, slamming the doors shut, emotions raw as we fumbled to start the engine. As we sped away down the deserted road, the cabin vanished behind us, swallowed by darkness. In the rearview mirror, I thought I saw something standing in the woods, watching us leave, its silhouette blending seamlessly into the shadows. The whispers faded with distance, but the chilling sensation of being followed clung to me long after we'd escaped. That night, I learned that some places hold memories we can't comprehend, voices that never truly fade away. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and the faint rustle of corn stalks. I stood at the edge of the field, heart racing as I glanced back towards the farmhouse. My home. The sun was setting, casting long shadows over the rows of corn, and for a moment I felt like I was being drawn deeper into the field, as if something invisible was beckoning me forward. I didn't realize how much trouble I was about to invite in. It was early September 2022, and the harvest was just beginning. I had spent the summer working on my uncle's farm, enjoying the simple life away from the busy city. But as the days grew shorter, so did my comfort. The harvest brought a strange unease. Whispers of an old legend circulated among the workers, tales of a figure that watched from the corn, waiting for the right moment to strike. I pushed the uneasy thoughts aside, telling myself it was just a story to scare city folk. I finished up my chores and made my way to the edge of the field where the tall stalks swayed gently in the twilight. As I scanned the corn rows, my heart skipped a beat. There was a figure standing far back among the plants. I squinted, but it vanished as quickly as it came. Just the wind playing tricks on my mind, I thought. That night I fell into a restless sleep. The sounds of the farm quieted, interrupted only by the distant hooting of an owl, but somewhere between dreams and reality, the whispers returned. "Don't look back," said a voice, chilling, and yet strangely familiar. I woke up, drenched in sweat, the words echoing in my mind. I sat up in bed, peering through my window towards the cornfield, where shadows danced in the moonlight, taunting me. I shook my head, trying to banish the dark thoughts. Morning light spilled into my room, but the unease lingered. Breakfast with my uncle felt different, like a lingering tension hung in the air as he told stories of the land. "You shouldn't go out in the field after dark," he warned, eyes serious. "There are things out there that don't want to be found." I laughed it off, but a chill crept down my spine. Uncle Joe's warnings felt much more than just protective advice. Later that day, I returned to the cornfield, determined to face my fears. I walked the rows, the stalks brushing against my arms, a whispering wind urging me onward. The late afternoon sun cast a golden hue over everything, but the unease deep inside me grew stronger. Each step felt heavy, as if I was wading through a thick fog of dread. I wanted to turn back, but something compelled me to go deeper. Then I saw it again, a fleeting glimpse of that figure moving among the corn. My heart raced as I froze, scanning the area. The whispers started anew, a teasing chorus that floated around me, taunting me. Help me, find me. Panic gripped me, and before I knew it, I was running, weaving through the stalks. The laughter grew wilder, echoing in my ears, and I felt the very ground shift beneath me. I burst out of the cornfield, gasping for breath, the sunlight scorching against my skin. I stumbled toward the farmhouse. The comforting sight of home never felt so good. But as I turned back to glance at the field, I saw the figure standing at the edge of the rows, watching me. It was just a shadow, faceless, but undeniably there, the outline shifting as if trying to speak. My legs turned to lead, and I sprinted inside, slamming the door shut behind me. For days following, unease settled over everything. I avoided the cornfield, but it felt like it was watching me just the same. Every night, the whispers returned, warning and beckoning me. You need to find me. The words echoed, haunting me even in my dreams. I began to dread falling asleep, fearing I might awaken to find myself back in the field, confronted by whatever haunted those rows. Then came the night of the harvest moon, a thick fog rolling in, cloaking everything in an eerie shroud. My uncle insisted it was just a normal harvest, but I couldn't shake the feeling it was something more. After dinner, I found myself staring out the window towards the field, the whispers louder than ever. I gathered all my courage and stepped outside, driven by an instinct I couldn't ignore. I would face whatever lay hidden. As I approached the edge of the cornfield, fog curling around the stalks, I could feel the chill seep into my bones. I followed the whispers, calling out into the darkness, "Show yourself! I'm not afraid!" The way the field shifted felt alive, and I could hear rustling in the distance. "Find me," called the voice again, clearer this time, as if it was right behind me. I turned, the pressure of something invisible pressing deep into my spine. Fear washed over me. I felt paralyzed. The world around me went silent, the whispers ceasing to echo. I stood rooted to the spot as something emerged from the corn, the figure coming closer, a faceless shade cloaked in darkness. My heart raced, visions of the tales my uncle told rushing back. I was too stunned to move, frozen as the figure drew near, extending a hand, tendrils of mist reaching towards me. "Help me," it whispered again, imploring, the shadows swirling around us. Just then, a loud clap of thunder resonated through the night, breaking me from the trance. I stumbled backward, turning and racing back, not daring to look behind me. "No!" I shouted, my breath ragged as I crossed the threshold of the farmhouse. I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. But as I gazed back at the field, I saw a darker shadow lingering at the edge, watching me with intent. The whispers faded, but left a chilling sensation that something was still there. For weeks, I didn't return to that field, but I could never shake the feeling of being watched. The whispers became a constant echo in my mind, and I started hearing them even in the daytime. I tried to forget, but every corner I turned, every shadow cast, felt like it was filled with unseen eyes. I would often find myself waking up in the middle of the night, staring through my window at the ghosts of the cornfield lurking in the darkness, wondering if I'd ever truly escaped. The last time I saw the cornfield, the harvest had come and gone. It had been plowed down, but still, the air felt different. It was as if that dark energy lingered, embedded into the soil. I still hear the whispers sometimes, a reminder of the figure that watched from the shadows, waiting for the next opportunity, the next harvest. I could never entirely leave it behind. The memory of that night lurking in my thoughts, a haunting reminder of the whispers in the corn. I was home alone when the lights went out, leaving me surrounded by an oppressive darkness that thickened the air. It was a typical Thursday evening in October 2023, and a storm had rolled in just hours earlier, transforming my cozy home into a haven of unease. Outside, the wind howled as I fumbled for a flashlight, unease creeping up my spine like an unwelcome guest. Maplewood Street had always felt safe, the kind of neighborhood where children played freely and neighbors exchanged pleasantries. I'd moved in a few months prior, settling into the comfortable routine of suburban life, but ever since that stormy night, I had begun to feel that something was off. My dreams grew restless, filled with visions of an old weathered house that I had never seen. As I journeyed deeper into the darkness of my own living room, a chill swept through the air, leaving me breathless. The sudden failure of the lights was the last straw. I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm, but the ominous creaking of the house sent chills racing down my arms. I flicked on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the blackness as I moved cautiously through the house. My mind raced, filled with thoughts of what could be lurking in the shadows, the nightmares flashing through my head. Just then, a sound echoed from upstairs, a soft thud like something heavy had fallen. My heart raced as I froze in place, listening intently. It happened again. The noise coming from the back of the house this time. Was it just my imagination, or was something alive in this darkened space? I took a step towards the stairs, each creak of the floorboards amplifying my heartbeat, reverberating in my ears. As I ascended the stairs, the air grew heavier, thick with a tension that sliced through the silence. I gripped the railing tighter, the flashlight beam wavering, practically begging me to turn back. My breath quickened, and I called out shakily, "Hello, is anyone there?" The only response was the wind whipping against the windows, rattling them as if in warning. I felt the sweat trickle down my back, blending with the chill that surrounded me. I kept moving upward, heart racing as I reached the top of the landing. The hallway stretched out before me in darkness, each door closed and silent. As I walked toward the end of the hall, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if eyes were boring into my back. I paused, pressing my ear against the door of the only room at the end, hoping to hear any signs of life. Instead, I was met with an eerie stillness. Summoning every ounce of courage, I opened the door, revealing a room filled with dust and decay. The remnants of what seemed to be a child's room laid forgotten, with toys scattered across the floor, their cheerful colors dimmed by layers of dust. My breath caught in my throat as I stepped further inside, a feeling of dread wrapping around me tighter than any blanket could. I glanced around, my heart pounding, half expecting a child to suddenly appear. That's when I heard it again, a laugh, soft and sweet, echoing in the stillness of the room. I froze, the sound sending an icy chill down my spine. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. There was no answer, just the weight of silence hanging heavily in the air. I stepped back, glancing at the open door, suddenly aware of how exposed I felt. I needed to leave, but every part of me was rooted in place, caught between fear and an inexplicable curiosity. Then something caught my eye, a wooden picture frame resting at the edge of a dusty dresser. I picked it up, wiping away the grime to see a faded photograph of a little girl with bright eyes, smiling innocently. Underneath, in elegant cursive, read the name, Emily. I felt a pang of nostalgia mixed with sadness and a sense of unease. Who was she, and why did her presence linger within these walls? Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the room, slamming the door shut behind me. Panic surged, and I dropped the frame, heart pounding as I rushed to open it. But it wouldn't budge, trapping me inside. The laughter returned, now echoing all around me, louder and more frantic. I pressed against the wood, my voice rising in desperation. "Let me out, please." But the laughter only grew, filling every corner of the room with a haunting melody that made my skin crawl. I felt the air grow colder, a presence wrapping around me like icy fingers. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a shadow darting past the window. I turned, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed a figure in the glass, a little girl, pale and dressed in what looked like an old-fashioned dress. Her expression was still, haunting, as she slowly turned her head in my direction. I was consumed by terror. What did she want? With every ounce of strength, I pushed against the door, panic-fueled determination surging through me. Finally, it gave way, and I stumbled into the hallway, gasping for breath. But the laughter followed me, echoing down the corridor, taunting me. I sprinted down the stairs, the thud of my footsteps harmonizing with the growing storm outside. I flung the front door open, throwing myself into the night air. I ran, heart racing as I darted across the lawn and into the street, desperate to escape the haunting echoes of that room. Emily's laughter trailed behind me, a chilling reminder that I could never truly leave. The wind howled, swirling leaves around me. I stumbled, but kept moving, adrenaline propelling me forward, far away from the house that felt alive with dark memories. When I finally reached the end of the street, I paused to catch my breath, but the storm raged on. Glancing back, the house stood ominously against the dark sky, lights flickering back on, revealing windows that seemed to watch me. I felt the urge to turn back, to confront whatever dark presence awaited me, but deep inside, I knew I was done with Maplewood Street. It had taken enough of my sanity and would haunt me long after I left. Weeks later, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Emily's laughter echoed in my dreams, haunting me night after night.